Welcome to the narrated fights video for the Incursus. Now we're going to start with the best fight in my opinion, because it turned out with a really good efficiency. And this is the fight you've seen in the preview that I posted over on the blog part of the website. So what happened was I was in O1Y. This is Pandemic Horde's new home system in Fade. This system, there's tons of them in here. It's very blobby. So if you ever come to this system, which I actually recommend, it's better to work the edges of this system than it is to actually come inside of this system, because they're always in a fleet. And if you attack something, an anomaly or something, they're going to warp that fleet of mostly frigates and destroyers. Just annoying stuff, but too much of it to really get a lot of kills. So what I was doing was exactly that. I was just passing through the system, going to this L-C, and you can see I was actually planning to go much further. I was going to go down into a dead end behind this system and see what I could find there. So like I said, don't hang out in this system too much. Work the edges if you want to go to this area. And I recommend it. I mean, it's a good area to go and get fights because they're eager to fight and there's plenty of them. So what happened was I landed on gate and I saw all these ships here. Now I knew immediately that I could not beat all of these ships if I fought them at once. So I had to find some way to split them up. So what I was thinking was I had a couple options. I could jump through and burn off the gate and burn away and see what's fast enough to chase, and then have pretty much a straight line, a running fight to where I'm running and the fastest gets to me, I kill the fastest, and by the time he's dead, I kill the next one. Or the other possibility is to just use a gate isolation. Now, if you're not familiar with the different types of isolations, one of the most important videos for you to watch is my lessons on isolation, which will be on the same page as this guide. It's an older video, but all the isolations still work. The only change I think that's really happened is there's no longer a session change. So it used to be you would jump into a gate, and even if you didn't aggro, you had to wait 30 seconds before you could jump back through. That's no longer the case. You can jump back through immediately unless you have aggro. So what we're going to notice right here is this slasher right here. You can see he's red boxed, right? So he's red boxed. That means that he's got an aggro timer right up here, little circle. What color is it? I'm not really sure what color it is. I think it's orange. It might be red. I don't know. Anyways, or it could be white. I don't know. He's got an aggro timer. I forget the color. We're going to see in a minute when I get an aggro timer, I guess. But that timer means that he cannot jump through the gate with his friends right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump through this gate right here. And all of these guys I'm expecting are going to follow me. And when they do, I have a couple options. One, I can engage over there and try to take on all three of these at the same time, which is not ideal because the Thrasher is the biggest threat. The rest are easy. I could take all three of these ships at the same time right now if the Thrasher wasn't there, but the Thrasher is a threat. So I'm just going to kind of feel it out and see what it looks like and then kind of play it by, as it comes. So let's go ahead and get started here. Here we go. So I jump through. So the slasher's aggro. That means he can't come in. I see that there's a slicer off the gate here, and that makes me think, okay, if there's a slicer off the gate, perhaps if he's horde and with these guys, I could charge and I could kill him, and by the time his buddies got to him, I could then switch to his buddies in the Atron and the Slasher. Very fast frigates, but very killable. Very fast to die as well. And that would work out. That would be the play that I would go with right now if this guy was a Pandemic Horde. He's not Pandemic Horde. He's dark. I don't know if that's darkness. I'm not really sure. He doesn't appear to be with them. Therefore, he's also here trying to get fights. So it would be there's too many unknowns if I were to charge him. So I just decide, okay, never mind. Let's go back to the gate. I want to get back on that gate. I'm not jumping just yet. I just want to get back on the gate. I know these guys are going to jump in. And so I decide that I'm just going to go through really quick. Now, I don't really know why I made that decision. Usually I would wait for some aggro or something, but I just decided they're 15k off. Let's just go full on right here, jump through and engage that slasher. So I jump through. The Thrasher is nowhere to be seen. He wasn't seen on the other side. He's not here. So as far as I know, the Thrasher has either warped off or he has jumped through the other side and kept going, maybe. So the Thrasher is no longer part of this fight. You can see on my scan, there's no Thrasher on scan. There's a Tengu and a Saber. Saber is a little bit worrying. The Vexor Navy issue, that's going to be an anomaly. So I engage the Slasher. Now, the important thing here with this is the structure tanked dual prop Incursus fit. This is the one I favor. It's my preferred fit because it's faster and it's a little bit more hands-off. You don't have to worry about running the AAR perfectly and avoiding over reps and all that stuff. So I charge right in, and if you're using antimatter like I am right now, the important thing is to stay right on top of this guy. Now, I'm not sure exactly what the optimal is off the top of my head, but I would say probably around 1k. I was talking about that aggro. It is red. You know, like I was saying right up here. Yeah, it's red. So that's an aggro, and I believe it's either 30 or 60 seconds. I always get that confused. It's enough though to keep somebody out of the fight. So you can see now the ships that jump through are coming back in. This is expected, but by the time this guy right here, by the time this dude here is applying any damage to me, this guy here is dead. So what that means is that now it's just a 1 versus 1 versus a ship that I was able to drop really fast. And here's another 1 versus 1. And then an Anathema uncloaks beside me. And so at that point, my immediate thought is, okay, slashers could be 1 million ISK at the lowest, could be 10 million ISK, but not a guaranteed positive efficiency here. That Anathema is a positive efficiency guarantee. That Anathema is an I win this fight choice, right? So the Anathema is not likely to apply any DPS or any E-War. He's probably just an exploration frigate that's on this gate, and as he's going to say later, he's saying he had a video glitch. If so, whatever, I'll take the kill anyway. But it's an easy, quick kill. They don't have much tank. They don't have much that can hurt you. So I immediately say, okay, we're going to drop this second slasher and we're going to get on this guy. Make sure we point him, get on him, and drop him as fast as possible. Maybe he warped to gate and went to grab a drink or something. Let's not give him a chance to come back. You can see now a Raptor's in. A good Raptor is a serious challenge to me. A well-fit Raptor that has, you know, a decently skill point pilot in it is a hard fight one-on-one. But this is Pandemic Horde, so most of them are newer players. So it's a good bet to say that he's probably not going to be fit perfectly. He's probably, or fit for solo, for that matter. And I'm still doing good. I still have all of my structure and some armor. I'm mostly, I think, about 60% or 65% of my tank is in my structure, so I'm all good. The Raptor ends up falling super fast. I want to try to grab a pod here because what I've found with a lot of these newer players, back when I was fighting against brave newbies, is that you would usually get the best kill mails from pods, not from ships. So a lot of these newer players won't spend money on a ship, right? They won't spend 30 million for a Tech 2 frigate. Instead, they'll fly a Tech 1 frigate with 100 million ISK and implants. So the best way to get kills from these from newer players, because they all have those learning implants to try to accelerate it, is to go for the pod. In this case, it didn't work out. I can live with that. And now you're going to see my error. Right now, I've got my kills. I should be warping off. I should click a Stargate, Celestial, anything, and click warp. And if I did it right this second, I would escape. But I see this fate pool coming in, and my decision to how to handle that, I didn't expect all this other stuff. My decision on how to handle that fate pool coming in was, it's a valid choice. It's not the right choice, but it's a valid choice. But to overload my micro warp drive and burn off in a direction as fast as possible, just get away from him. Because if I can get far enough away from him, his guns won't be of any value. Unfortunately, he's an arty, 200mm howitzer artillery 2s. He's an artillery, insta-lock, insta-pops fate pull straight from my website, and he just nails me the first shot. And then I'm burning off, micro warp drive going, straight line, makes me bigger, hits me hard again. And then here comes another one. You can see there's a Sentinel chasing. Sentinel's got a little bit of nuke pressure on me, not enough at this range to be a factor, but there's just way too much here. So the right choice would have been to burn off, but just as a hypothetical, what I was setting myself up for, the reason I was doing this, was because a lot of times the warp in won't be as big as this, which is again why I say maybe don't fight in this system. But if the warp in wasn't this big, imagine that instead of the Sentinel, or this, not, I mean the Spade Pool coming in first, which happened to be like absolutely the worst ship that could land on grid right then. That was the worst possible choice. Like, I would rather have a Curse land on grid than a Spade Pool, especially an Insta-Lock Spade Pool, because he lands, Insta-Locks, and then nails me, right? So, at this point, yeah, he's still able to hit me, which kind of shocks me. But I'm trying to warp out. But what I was trying to do is imagine if it was just, say, an Incursus, a Slasher, a Maulus, a Kestrel. If it was just some ships like that came in, and I burned off, what I would do is, because they're all warping to the wreck of that Raptor, most likely, because they're doing that, as I burn off, they're all going to land back at that wreck, and I might be 50, 70, 80, 100K from that wreck. And so they're going to land on the wreck, and they're going to start burning towards me, right? So let's get some drawing stuff going on here. So let's say the wreck's right here. I'm burning off over here, and let's say I'm at 70, okay? And then let's say a Slasher lands right here and starts burning for me. And then let's say 2 seconds later, an Incursus lands right there. You can see there's a distance in between the two. And so they're going to come in at different times, which means I can get a little bit of time alone with this guy before this guy lands. And if it was manageable, those would be more kills I could have gotten. It didn't work out in this case, and I would say I got a little bit greedy. The right choice might have been, or in this case, you know, in hindsight, we can say it was, to warp out. But, you know, a good thing about flying a 10 million ISK Incursus is you can take those risky choices. You can take the chances that you wouldn't necessarily take if you were flying something like a Spade Pool or maybe something even bigger. So you can take bigger risks, and therefore, you know, when you take bigger risks, you're more likely to die, but you're also more likely to, here and there, sometimes, get amazing fights, like once in a lifetime, once in an Eve lifetime fights. And that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and watch me die. Okay. Nothing more really happens in this video from here. I warp to the Sino. There's a bunch of people on the Sino. Sino's on the station. I quickly warp off. I go to a safe spot. I self-destruct. It's just faster to get back with a self-destruct. I didn't have anything in my pod. So just self-destruct. Alright, so let's go to the next video. See if I can do that. I'm going to have to hit this, I think. Alright. So this is another video you've seen. I'm in the same ship. Same setup. Incursus, whole tank. You can see I've got null loaded. Now, when you're fighting against other interceptors, a lot of the time, because you're both so quick, having null loaded is going to be better than antimatter, especially for the fast fights. For the ships that don't typically have a lot of tank, you know, something along the lines of an Ares or what's another one? Malediction would be another one. I was going to say the Stiletto, but Stilettos are usually a little bit tanky. So I'm going to try to hurry up and get to the thing. But against lighter tanked targets, the null is going to be better because you're going to apply more damage over the course of the fight. And you can see right now that there's a Tyrannus on scan. The video, the reason that it's taken me longer than I expected to get this out, this new update, is because I desperately wanted to find a Tyrannus to fight. But no matter how hard I tried, no Tyrannus would fight my little Incursus, and it upset me so much. I wanted to find a Tyrannus to fight because I'm positive that I can beat a Tyrannus in this ship. Orbit, 5,000, afterburner on and overloaded, null loaded, guns overloaded, right? He's going to have smaller guns than you. He'll probably have ions or electrons. He's going to have faction antimatter, not null. And he's going to have scram web, right? It's predictable. They always do that. So what that means, or I should say 99% of the time they do, what that means is that his guns will do almost nothing to you for the entire course of the fight. You're just as fast as him. And with your afterburner, you're actually faster than him once you're webbed and he's got no propulsion at all, but you've got an afterburner. And so you would just keep him at range at 5,000 and basically scram kite him and get the kill. So I want you to go out there and kill some Tyrannuses for me because I couldn't find any. They wouldn't fight me. It's just bad luck is what happened. I just couldn't find a Tyrannus that was looking for a fight. So I'm going to keep trying, and if I find it, I will post the video. All right, so I need to hurry up and get to the actual fight here. I don't believe this is it. Let's see. And I think I go one more gate. Because you've already seen this fight. It was in a video I posted to YouTube and the website probably a month ago, maybe less. All right, skipping forward here. This should, yeah, it's about to happen right here. Okay, I think. I believe it happens right after I jump in here to O-N. Right now I'm in pure blind. This is, right now it's contested space. You know, goons are fighting for it. It used to be a really amazing place to fight. This is still not the fight. What's going on here? Alright, now we're at the fight. Let's go back a little bit. Back further. Alright, so I'm now in O-N, and I was about to warp. Clicking warp, I see malediction, shift space, stop, do not warp. Malediction came in. Instead, align, micro warp drive on, start burning off gate in case anything comes in on us. We want to be fighting away from the gate so that nothing can disturb us. So I start burning off the gate. A broadsword lands. This is what I'm talking about. Broadsword lands. I want him to be out of range. So I'm starting to burn away. I want to go ahead and lock. What I did really quick right there is I used a keep at 100 on the broadsword in case he charged me. I want to move as fast directly away from him as possible. So the most efficient route away from that broadsword is a keep at 100. And that's going to tell the computer to say, okay, we need to get this broadsword out to 100K as fast as possible. What's the optimal direction for my ship to fly? That's not something you can do very quickly and easily with manual piloting. It's much easier to do it with the keep at. All right, and you'll notice I don't do manual piloting in many of the fights. Manual piloting is overrated. There are certain times when it's very important and there's things you can do that are going to be very helpful. But in the end, if manual piloting is making the difference in a fight, then you're probably doing it wrong. You don't need manual piloting for the vast majority of the time when you're flying. People like to talk about it like it's some pro elite thing. It's all BS. There are certain times when you need to manually pilot your ship, especially when you're working a big fleet and you're trying to position yourself properly. Those are the times when it's really important. Once a fight started, it's rarely of any importance. Effectively. I'm sure there's some advantage. We're going to move on. Okay. So keep the broadsword at 100K. Lock up the malediction. Burn away as fast as possible. Get as much distance between me and that gate as possible. Me and that broadsword as possible. Broadsword to turn off my micro warp drive with his focus point. And there's another malediction on grid, so I want to delay his getting into the fight as long as possible. So in my head right now, let's go forward a little bit. In my mind right now, what I expect from this is my forecast. I always try to think ahead. What's their next move? What's going to happen next? And try to predict it so that I can put myself in the best possible situation. So what's going to happen next? Take a second and think about, what do you think is going to happen in this fight? And it's a good exercise because it helps you to understand and it helps you to think about the fights in a way that's going to help you to outthink your opponent and be in the right place at the right time. So my mind tells me that the malediction that locked me is going to charge me. He's going to come at me. The broadsword's going to burn towards me, but he's too slow to actually keep up with me. So he's not going to be a factor because I'm already far enough away that I'm going to get away from him. The other malediction's going to charge me as well. Okay? So the way I see this fight playing out right now is I see this fight playing out as a Incursus versus two maledictions. To give myself the best chance to win this fight, a Tech 1 frigate versus two Tech 2 frigates, I need to space these two frigates out as far as possible. What I have on my side is the second malediction landed after the first, but for some reason, this guy here is further away. It's like he burned away from me or something. I'm not sure what he was thinking. But, so I start burning off. But what I predict is that they're all going to attempt to fight me. And they're going to charge after me, and by burning, maybe I can separate the two maledictions by maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds. But any amount of separation you get is going to be on your side. That's not what happens. The broadsword jumped through, and here's one of the disadvantages to using keep at range. Broadsword and malediction both jump through. But since the broadsword jumped through, my velocity stops and goes to 0. Because there's nothing to keep at anymore. But in this case, it works for me. But that's something you have to be very cautious of. And what I like to do with the keep at 100 is I like to use it to get the direction going, and then I'll manually double click in that direction to really lock it in. Because you will have some times where your ship just stops and they're all of a sudden on top of you and you're like, what happened? And you go back and you watch the video and, oh, well, that's it. He jumped away or warped away, and as a result, my ship just stopped when I thought it was going to keep going. Malediction comes in. So here, just approach, microwarp drive on. Let's get that scram solid. Turn the microwarp drive off. I don't want to keep bouncing around. And just try to stay right on top of this guy as best as possible. Keep him within 4K ideally. A little bit closer is okay. You don't want to get within 1K on him because your guns aren't going to track properly. You can see there's some other stuff coming in here now. Scimitar is a possible threat. By the time he lands and locks, I'm hoping to have this guy dead because from 55K the Scimitar could rep and save him. It would be enough reps to where I probably couldn't kill him. But I dropped the malediction. I'm happy with that. That's a Tech 1 frigate kills a Tech 2 frigate. It's all good. Now, and I don't think I see it here. I miss his pod because I'm burning away, thinking that more stuff's going to land. There's so much coming through local here. But I don't know if I see his kill mail. Let's see if I look at the kill mail. The cool part about that ship was that he had loot worth 150 million. I don't think I look at it. I look at it right when I stop the video, and then I start another video to go back and get it, and I end up getting the loot. And it was 150 million ISK in loot. He had Dead Space mods, faction mods. I think he had a ton of nanite paste, like a ridiculous amount of nanite paste, 700 or something, way more than you should carry on a frigate. And so anyways, it was a very profitable kill. 150 million ISK in loot is what it showed. I probably only sold everything for closer to about 120 million ISK because I immediately went back and got it and took all that stuff to Jita and sold it. So that dude paid for at least 12 Incursuses. Is that likely to happen to you? No. Don't think that that's an everyday thing. It does happen sometimes, but it's kind of like winning the lottery. You know, you're not going to get a good drop like that, except for maybe 1 in 50, 1 in 100. You know, it's pretty rare. In this fight here, I'm in the dual prop hull tanked Incursus, and I'm not sure if I jumped through this gate or I just landed on this gate. But I saw Republic Fleet Firetail. You can see he's got the, this is why damage notifications are so important. You can see he's got the Tech 2 autocannons, 200 millimeter. So I'm pretty sure I can kill a Firetail. If he's dual prop, I can match his dual prop, right? I can play that game with him. If he's a micro warp drive scram web, I'm still good. The Firetail has, if it's well fit, DPS somewhere in the neighborhood of 200. Okay, I've got antimatter loaded. That's good because I want to out DPS him in this fight. Firetail can fit a stronger tank than me. You can get a medium shield extender Firetail going at like, I don't know, 6k hit points EHP. So he probably has 50% more hit points than me, but I have 50% more damage. I can do around 300, I think, overloaded. So I have more damage. He has more tank if he is fit at the optimum, right? I like to assume everyone I fight is going to be fit as well as I am, as well as I would fit the ship, right? So that's my basic assumption, is when I see him, I say to myself, that's me in that Firetail. How am I going to fight me in my favorite fit, right? And so for this, the answer is just to charge. I need to get right on top of this guy. I need to get damage on as fast as possible. I need to overload from the start. There's no waiting on the overload. I need to get the afterburner going to make sure I can stay on him if he's a dual prop, because he is faster than me. If he's got an afterburner, he's going to be able to dictate range to some degree. He does not have an afterburner. You can see he's a scram web fit. So I'm going to stay right on top of him. One thing that's happening here is you notice we're kind of bouncing around a lot. I'm not liking that. I probably should have done something like a keep at 1K to help with my damage application, because we're just bouncing all over the place. I seem to be tracking. You know, a good thing, let's go ahead and pause this. A really good thing to keep an eye on, just to kind of glance at. You're not going to have time to just study it and stare at it the whole fight. But a good thing to keep your eye on is the damage notifications. There's so much information right here that can change the way you do your fight. So a miss here means we've got too much transversal velocity, right? We're too close, and you know, if the fight wasn't already almost over, I've got the majority of my tank left. He's struggling. His tank was most likely either in his armor or his shield. You don't structure tank a Firetail. Usually you shield tank them. I'm not really sure what this guy did. But, so I've already won the fight. However, and that's a good fight too, 10 million-ish Incursus versus probably a 20 million-ish Firetail, 15, you know, I think the lowest. But watch these notifications and look for these misses. If you're missing, you're not applying damage, and you're really putting yourself in a position where you might lose that fight. And the solution to missing, if you see you're missing a lot, the solution is to use a keep at. Is usually the solution. So what I will do is I will start, if it was a longer fight and you had time to do all this, I would start by going to a keep at, right click. I would right click on the picture here, and I would keep at 1K. Okay? If I still saw these damage notifications, I would right click the picture and I would keep at 2,500 meters. Okay, 2.5K. If I saw the range, I wasn't getting out near 2,000 and I was staying around this 1,300 mark, I would then overload my afterburner to give me more speed and be able to better dictate the range and better push him out a little bit. Because the way tracking works, the farther away something is, the better you're going to track it, right? Keep at range means that your ship's going to be constantly moving towards or away from the target, directly towards or directly away, which is going to also help with tracking. So that's an important point that'll help you out, not only in this, but in a lot of other situations. So right now I'm still approaching. It's not the best play here, but it's going to be enough because I've already won the fight. You can see his structure is doing better than expected. He's definitely got a damage control. I miss again. He missed me. I missed him. My drones ended up finishing him off. You can see that last hit was my drones. My drone. My single drone. So I take him down, kill his pod. It's a fun fight. And it was definitely a positive efficiency fight. I killed something stronger than me, you know, in a cheaper ship. And it wasn't really stronger than me. If I was actually flying that ship, the firetail, I think I could have either won that fight or taken it down to the extremely close. So if it was me versus me, my dual prop firetail that I love to fly, well, with a medium shield extender, versus this Incursus, it would be it would be a very close fight. All right, and then, is this the last one? I don't think this is the last one. I think we've got 1 or 2 more videos to go. I'm not sure. Anyways, now, everything you've seen so far has been null-sec. I love null-sec. I spend the majority of my time in null-sec. But there's something to be said for the reliableness of PvP in faction warfare. You're going to get more fights in low-sec faction warfare than null-sec. In null-sec, it's much more about finding the right fight, and there are times in null-sec where you may play for 2 hours straight and not get a good fight. It happens. It happens to me regularly. In null-sec, it's a little bit harder to get those good fights, but when you get them, in my opinion, they are a higher quality. They're more enjoyable than the low-sec fights. That said, as a new pilot or as someone just trying PvP, you're better off with more fights than you are with better fights, right? So I would probably start out in faction warfare. If I was starting all over again, I would get my start in faction warfare, and I would get a good 50, 20 to 50 kills under my belt before I moved on and played around in null-sec. You need to get desensitized to the fighting experience, let that rush calm down a little bit, get better at situational awareness, watching your overview, watching your directional scanner, watching local, monitoring the distances between you and your opponent, your damage notifications, all that stuff. So what happened here is I was on my way to null-sec. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not. I was going to Suggerento. But I think my plan was to go to null-sec. And I happened to be going through Tama, and I said, well, you know what? The perfect fight in low-sec for this ship would be, it would be against an Imperial Navy slicer, right? And so here's my tactic for you. If you were to go to faction warfare low-sec, there's something that's very common that you come across a lot. You'll come across novice sites here, like you see I'm about to go to, that have a kiting ship, a long kite, like a slicer or a condor, right? If you see a slicer or a condor in a novice site in low-sec, you've got a free kill. Because in their mind, the Incursus is an afterburner blaster or maybe afterburner railgun ship. They can kite you out at 20K with their superior speed with the micro warp drive and keep you at range. What they do not expect is that you have a micro warp drive and 2 overdrives, so you're faster than them. That means that you can kill just about every slicer and condor you come across, and some others. There's the possibility, if you play it right, you can kill Garmers with this fit right here. You can kill a Garmer. And the way to do that would be charge with the micro warp drive. He's probably going to have a defensive scram to turn off your micro warp drive and keep you from scramming him. So have your afterburner, have it primed to be overloaded. And you prime it by clicking that little top green area. So even before it's turned on, you can have it primed so that the first cycle will be overloaded. And as soon as he hits his scram, you hit your afterburner. So your micro warp drive goes off, your afterburner goes on, and so you keep some good velocity going, and you're able to get in and get that scram. And if you get a scram on a Garmer, I'd say somewhere between 60 and 70% of the time you're going to win. And that's against a ship that's so much more expensive than yours. So let's get started. I see there's a Punisher and Imperial Navy Slicer. If they're together, I'm probably going to lose. However, I figure most likely they're not together. Most likely they're fighting each other, which is even better. So I'm going to jump in and play hero, and the Punisher's being kited right now, but he's got a good tank, so it'll last a little while. Punisher's very tanky, but not good for too much more than that. So I'm going to come in, and I'm going to immediately, just without a second thought, charge that slicer. Don't give him a chance to think. Don't let him even consider what's going on here. By the time he realizes what's going on, it's going to be too late for him. You see, he's moving at 3,500 was his max. I shoot straight in with an overloaded micro warp drive. I'm going to catch this guy, guaranteed. Right? I'm going to overload my micro warp drive and make sure I get on him. Get that scram. Get the guns. Get the drones. I've got null loaded because you see how far I was there, 6K. There's a lot of overshooting that goes on here when you charge in that fast. And so the null is going to be superior. 5K, null superior. Right? So null's helping me out quite a bit. I should turn on my afterburner here. But no, this is fine. 4K, 3K. This is optimal right here. This is really nice. So by the time he turns on me and starts shooting at me, he's dead. He's already lost the fight. Right? The Punisher, rightfully so, took advantage of the whole situation and warped off. He said, you know, this is my chance to survive. Some dudes come in here and just absolutely owned that slicer. I'm getting the heck out of here before this guy turns on me, and I would have. You know, I can play hero all I want. As soon as the slicer went down, I was going to turn in and go on the Punisher, because ideally this guy would have already weakened the Punisher, and I would get a Punisher kill as well. Still got all my structure. He's dead. Boom. Try to get the pod. Always try to get the pod. Especially when you see it, I don't know what your colors are going to be, but hopefully they're the same as mine. When you see that bluish color right there that he is, that's a limited engagement timer. That means you are free to pod him. No penalties. But he gets away. So I'm a little bit excited about this because I use this fit, and so I'm saying in local, I'm saying no kite for you, buddy. I just went in there and absolutely owned your face. I was excited about this fight. I really enjoyed it. So let's go on the next one. I go ahead and loot him. There's nothing really special. I think this is the last video. I'm not sure. I can't think of any other ones. Alright, so what happened here is I was in null-sec. Now this was during the Great War, is that what we're going to call it now? World War B? Just ended, I guess. Goons lost, but they're not done. I'm sure they're going to come back, and there's more to the story coming, I'm sure. But this was the time when people were out Incursusing like crazy. You had all these Incursus ships. And so I see this slicer, and I'm saying, okay, he just went to that iHub. Scan shows 3 slicers. I'm going to lower my angle and see that they're all there at the iHub. I should have gone a little bit tighter than 90 degrees. And I'm going to go in at 100K. So here's another strategy. When you see a bunch of ships together that you can't fight all at once, you need to try to separate. And one of the easiest ways to do that is that they're all at a gate or a station or something like that, a belt at 0 or iHub. Warp at 100. Let them come to you, and hopefully they will do it in a fragmented way, one at a time, and give you the chance for a little bit of isolation. And so an important thing to look at here is that going into this fight, now this is the fight where I've got the AAR fit. I don't really like this fight, this fit as much. It takes more work to keep it up, to keep it going, and I don't think you get that much of an advantage for it. I prefer the other fit. But when you go into this fight, you're going into it with the belief that my ship's worth 10 million ISK, right? Each one of these 3 ships is worth probably 20 million or more. So if I kill one of these ships, and there is one more video, I just remembered. If I kill one of these ships, because it's very similar to this, if I kill one of these ships and die, I've won the fight. That's a victory. Okay, that is a 100% victory. I've killed something worth twice as much as my ship against 3-to-1 odds, or 4-to-1 now. We've got a Sveipool on field. So this guy's coming in, and what did I do there that was really of any importance? I aligned to the gate I came from, I think. Might have been to a different one, but a gate that goes away from them is what it was. So I aligned to a gate that was away from them and burned with a micro warp drive for a second to try to pull this guy I want this fight to happen ideally somewhere around 100k. He starts getting damaged. That means I've got to turn in, approach, get the scram. Don't let him kite. Most slicers are kites. You got to get that scram. Overload your guns from the start always. Very few exceptions to that. Don't overload your scram any longer than you have to. You've got it. Lots more stuff coming in now. You can see the Frigate pool is burning right at me, 66k. So is VT in the slicer, coming even faster. So I've got to try not to over-rep, which I just over-repped a little bit there. And I've got to kill this guy. And so now I under-repped a little bit. I could have got that rep off a second earlier and it would have helped me. But I've got to kill this guy before I get killed by all this other stuff that's coming in on me. If I kill just this one target, I'm a winner. There's not much to say about it. I'm just, there's not much really details about how it was done. Once the fight started, it was over. It's just manage my tank, approach, and do as much damage as possible, and try to kill him before I die. And there's another fight that's very similar to that coming up right here against an Ares. And you see the name of it. I hate how it shows the name there. Kill Ares, get blobbed. It kind of ruins the video, doesn't it? You know what's going to happen. So what happened here is I was in Tribute, which is in the same area. It's up in the north, kind of maybe northwest area of the map. And there's a CO2 Ares here. There's also a Raptor 500 off the gate. I'm not sure if he's with him, but I jump in. I knew that there was some more stuff in the area, maybe one jump away or something. I knew more stuff was around. But I'm in the AAR fit. And my whole purpose for this fit, one of my primary targets that I want to kill is other interceptors. And the Ares, that's the perfect one to drop real fast. So throw that drone out, approach, get the scram. I need to be overloading my guns. They should have been overloaded sooner than that. And now just approach and kill this guy. I'm right on gate, so anything coming through the gate, like that stiletto, is going to be right on top of me. That's not ideal, but it works. So go ahead and lock the stiletto in case maybe I can kill this guy and the stiletto. But now we've got 2 ruptures. That's not ideal. So now there's a bit more. Go ahead and lock him anyway. You never know. Don't ever give up without trying. It's like, yeah, you've probably lost this fight, but get your kill of the Ares, which puts you at 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 efficiency. Get your kill of the Ares and be ready to move to something else just in case you have time. And always try. Right? I should have been trying. But what I think I tried to do there is I wasn't scrammed. So what I tried to do, instead of engaging the stiletto, which would have been the smart choice, I should have just went straight at that stiletto hard. But I wanted to try to escape, so you can see I'm trying to burn. I double-clicked off in space towards some Celestials, and I'm just burning as fast as I can, micro-warp drive, but I'm webbed, so I'm not burning faster than anybody here, and that's why it was a mistake. Had I engaged that stiletto, there's a very small chance I would have killed him. Probably not. But again, this is the whole point of this ship. It's a ship that you can go out there and just YOLO. You just go, you take the big risks, and ideally it turns out like this, where I bet that, let's see if I pull up the kill, I bet that Ares costs 30 million ISK, right? 10 million to 30 million. That's a 3-to-1 efficiency. Yeah, I'm going to show it. Okay. There we go. 23 million. On the kill board, it's probably more. Like on Z-Kill, they usually show up as more expensive than they do in Eve. But that's, even at 23 million, that's a 2-to-1 efficiency, right? And so if you can get kills like this reliably, you're doing good as a solo PvPer. They're fun. They're very fulfilling, I guess the word is, because you've done something. You've taken a fight outnumbered in a ship that is of lower cost and lower capability in many cases against an enemy, and you fought outnumbered and you've won. You've gotten a kill. And so that's a really big success in solo PvP. Now, there's some people who think, oh, well, maybe I want to kill their entire fleet. You're not going to do it in a frigate. You're not going to. That kind of fight's reserved for the bigger ships that have really heavy tanks, and quite honestly are very difficult to find good fights in. You're going to have a lot more fun in a frigate, especially early on. And these fights like this where you get a good efficiency, because you got to think about it from their perspective. How upset are these Circle of Two guys that they just blobbed an Incursus, and that Incursus killed one of their interceptors and got a 2-to-1 efficiency on them, right? It's like you just beat them in the morale way as well as in an ISK way. And so that's kind of the thing that's really cool about it, is especially if you have like an arch enemy, which I hope you do in EVE. I hope you have an arch enemy because it makes the game more fun. I no longer do. For a long time it was a group called Chain of Chaos that's no longer around, but they were an arch enemy. For a while, brave newbies declared war on my alliance and started destroying all of our towers and everything else. So they were an arch enemy, and I enjoyed killing them. I no longer have an arch enemy, but I suggest you get one because it's fun to try to go out there and do stuff like this to them and really get them upset. And the more upset they are, the more likely they are to do stupid things, which means you can go back and switch to a bigger ship, and maybe you can then get that fight that where you just completely level them because they throw a kitchen sink fleet at you in anger, right? So there's some psychology to it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm not going to keep talking. I could probably talk for another hour, but you've got other videos to watch and you've got ships to kill. So I'm going to end this video here. I hope you liked it. I'm going to try to do some other ones soon. So I'm hoping to do something like a Merlin and a Kestrel update in the next month or two, but I've also got a new guide coming out hopefully in the next month that I think everybody's going to enjoy. So we got to try to get everything in and get it all out. But it's some exciting stuff coming. I hope you guys enjoyed this update. I hope you go out and get tons of kills, and I'll see you later.